The following is a production of the University of Minnesota, driven to discover.
Hi, this is David Arundel, your host for the Equity Outcomes Podcast. Thanks for spending some time with me today. In this podcast episode, we feature a previously published article named Use of Supplemental Instruction at an Urban High School. The same learning strategies that are modeled during SI and first-year college history courses can just as easily be modeled and practiced inside of a high school history course. It gets the opportunity for students to start developing even more rigorous learning strategies that they're going to need for success in college that are also going to help them in order to excel in their high school courses. This occurred at Westport High School, which had been adopted by a billionaire by the name of Kaufman, who also owned the Kansas City Royals baseball team. He adopted this school in order to help ensure that they had the academic resources to be able to complete high school, which previously had a high school graduation rate of less than 50%. And for these students also to have all the financial resources and free tuition for them to attend a college of their choice afterwards then. I had an opportunity to participate in the program and see the high school students and see how they interacted with the SI leaders who turned out to be most often students who wanted to go into teaching careers working at a local community college. It was really a quite exciting time to see what was going on and to see how SI could just as easily be used in high school settings as well as college settings, and as I shared in the last podcast episode, also used in professional schools to see SI used in a law school then. Well, in addition to this audio episode, I also provide a transcript of the publication. I hope you enjoy the audio version of the article.
Use of supplemental instruction with an urban high school. Deanna C. Martin, Peggy Tyler Hall, and David R. Arundel. While various strategies for learning support have been employed and found useful at the college and university levels, Noel, et al., 1985, it has been difficult to transport these strategies to the public secondary schools. Particularly troublesome has been the effective development of programs addressing the needs of inner-city, ethnically diverse, secondary schools, 1981, Pressazen, 1985. Supplemental Instruction, SI, was selected as the major academic support component for the inner-city secondary students at Westport High School.
What was the background of the Westport High School SI project?
Westport High School, located in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri, has a student population which is approximately 60% African American, 20% Latino, 14% Anglo, and 6% Asian American. In 1988, when the SI program was introduced to Westport, the total dropout rate was 30% for the school. Additionally, on any given day 30% of the students were absent from one or more classes. Nearly 50% of the students were 2 years behind in reading and math, and 25% were 1 year behind grade level. Nearly 60% of the students were economically disadvantaged, as evidenced by their qualification for the free lunch program. The opportunity to work with high school students at Westport occurred as a part of the school's, colleges, universities project, SCUP, a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. The purpose of SCUP was to encourage students to complete high school and continue with post-secondary education or pursue a vocational career. UMKC provided training and supervision for the supplemental instruction component of the program. The SCUP grant was supplemented with funds from a private initiative, Project Choice, an educational support program provided by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation.
What are the common student learning problems in high school?
While students may be underprepared for a multiplicity of reasons, one common educational concern about such students is that they typically lack the ability to reason effectively. Research suggests that half of entering college freshmen have not yet attained reasoning skills at the formal, abstract, operational level. Aarons and Karplus, 1976, described by Piaget and Inhelder, 1958. Students who appear to operate at the concrete, non-abstract, level consistently have difficulty processing unfamiliar information when it is presented through the abstract media of lecture and text. Student questions about material are often detail-oriented and superficial. Rarely do they ask or answer questions which require inference, synthesis, or application. They can operate at more advanced levels once they have mastered a concept, but to do so they require regular instruction that either anchors the concept directly in their previous experience or provides a concrete experience with data from which the concept may be inferred. Atkins and Karplus, 1962, Fuller, 1980, Karplus et al., 1976, Renner et al., 1976. Deficiencies in these fundamental skills underlie most problems with basic academic skills, example, reading, language, and mathematics. Research studies with a wide variety of high school populations indicate that substantial gains in the level of reasoning and questioning skills can be achieved expeditiously through appropriate strategies and techniques. 1981. Jones, 1985, Pressazen, 1985, Schneider and Renner, 1980. Similar findings are found in the post-secondary setting. Kiemig, 1983.
What were the program objectives at Westport High School?
While the general desired outcome was to increase appropriate academic behavior and skills among the targeted student population, the following measurable objectives were established for the targeted 9th and 10th grade populations. 1. To increase the retention rate. 2. To increase the attendance rate. 3. To increase class grades in history and English. 5. To increase scores on standardized tests, and 6. To improve effective domain scores on selected instruments. History and English classes were selected for assistance by SI. Historically, many students had academic difficulty in dealing with the reading and appropriate note-taking activities in the history class and writing activities in the English class.
How was the Westport SI program designed?
Those selected to lead the SI sessions at Westport were college students who were approved by the high school course instructor and certified as content competent. Most of these college students were education majors, but some were content area majors. They were recruited from Kansas City area colleges and paid through funds provided by the SCUP grant. SI leaders were trained in learning strategies most appropriate to their content discipline. Intensive training took place before they began working with the high school students, with additional training on an ongoing basis through daily staff meetings. The training workshop was similar to training provided for SI leaders who worked at UMKC. One unique training component dealt with student discipline procedures. The SI leaders attended the targeted history or English class, listened, and took notes. By attending class sessions, SI leaders were better prepared to help students understand the language of the course as they integrated the lectures and readings. Since these SI leaders had direct knowledge of the class material, they were better able to model good student behavior during the SI sessions. High school students also were more responsive to the SI leaders since they attended class along with them. The SI leader and their Westport teacher in the target class of either English or history met briefly each week to discuss upcoming lesson plans. The teachers often shared handouts, curriculum guides, and other helpful materials that the SI leaders used to develop their SI session plans. Typically, the SI leaders conducted 2 to 3 50-minute SI sessions each week during regular school hours with their group of students. The designated period was made possible by scheduling all 9th graders in a learning enrichment class and all 10th graders in a study skill class. Each week the students attended SI sessions for English 2 days a week, either on Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, and history 2 days a week. On Fridays the students attended an additional SI session, alternating between history and English each week. During specified times throughout the year, the high school students stayed with the learning enrichment or study skill instructors for specific learning projects, or to undergo assessment activities. UMKC SI program staff felt that it was critical that the academic intervention be offered during the school day rather than after school or on Saturday. With transportation problems, family responsibilities, extracurricular activities, and part-time work hours, it was felt that academic service during the regular school day would reach the largest number of students. SI leaders received supervision by staff from UMKC. The SI supervisors accompanied SI leaders to class lectures, assisted with planning strategies for SI sessions, and accompanied them to their SI sessions. After the SI session, the SI supervisor debriefed the SI leader concerning what was observed and made suggestions for improvement. In addition to the UMKC staff, the learning enhancement and study skill teachers assisted with supervision. The time commitment of the SI supervisors varied over the course of the semester. During the first month of the academic term, the SI supervisor accompanied the SI leader to all class lectures and SI sessions. After this first intensive period, the supervisor's time commitment diminished. The SI review sessions had an average attendance of 5 students. The largest groups had 10 students. These student groups generally had the same English or history teacher. However, they may have attended that class at a different class period during the day. The SI leader attended only one class session daily. This did not pose a major problem since the teachers had consistent lesson plans for their classes. Since the learning enrichment and study skill classes were held during 5 of the 7 class periods of the school day, SI sessions were scheduled throughout the day as well. Each SI leader generally led SI sessions during 3 of these class periods. SI leaders worked one of 2 shifts, either in the early morning periods or from late morning until afternoon. SI leaders also attended a planning in-service hour during the 4th class period, which occurred over the lunch hour. Both SI leader shifts overlapped at this time. An additional hour each day was spent by the SI leaders observing their content teacher and preparing for their next SI session. By targeting high-risk courses rather than high-risk students, the SI program avoided the remedial stigma associated with most academic support programs. Therefore, students at various levels of ability felt comfortable participating freely in the risk-free environment of the SI sessions. At the onset, the program was proactive, not reactive, in that SI was offered during the beginning of the semester, allowing students to obtain assistance before they encountered academic difficulty.
What were the results of the Westport SI program?
During the same time that the SI program was implemented at Westport, a number of other services were introduced through the SCUP grant and the Kaufman Foundation. Some of these included counseling and career guidance for students. Workshops for parents and closer ties between the family and school were developed. As the high school changed from a neighborhood school to a becoming part of a magnet choice program, the student population changed. However, the only new academic enhancement program that worked with all the 9th and 10th grade students was SI. Interpretation of data collected during the 3-year pilot program indicated that SI contributed to increased student performance in the following areas. Progress was made in improving the English and history course grades. The comparison groups were mean final course grades of 9th and 10th grade Westport students before the SI program was introduced to Westport. When comparing SI attendance and improvement in grades from quarter to quarter, there was significant change in grades when examining the students at the lower end of the grading scale. Within that group, there was significance as great as 1/2 letter grade improvement in history and 3/4 letter grade improvement in English. On a survey of SI participating students, they were asked to rate the SI program as to whether or not they believed the program helped them perform better academically. The majority of the students reported that the SI program was effective. The Westport teachers generally found the SI sessions to be helpful and cited incidents which convinced them that SI was making a difference. Teachers felt that students participated more in class and that they believed the better scores on standardized tests was attributable to SI reinforcing material. There were also improvements for the attendance rate students was compared with other groups that did not participate in supplemental instruction in previous years.
How would you summarize the success of the Westport High School project?
In review, the SI program provided the central academic support focus for 9th and 10th grade students at Westport High School. While not the sole factor, the SI program contributed to increased student performance. After completing the 3-year pilot test, the initial results appear favorable. While there has been some difficulty in implementing this comprehensive learning assistance program during the regular school day, the results in improved academic performance and improved student discipline warrant further use of the program. There are a variety of other ways that the program could be implemented in other high schools. Upperclassmen, adult volunteers, parent volunteers, or other persons could serve as SI leaders and supervisors. Strong support from the high school administration and creativity open many opportunities for the adoption of supplemental instruction at the high school level.